Hi design thinkers, my name is Matthew Sear and today we're going to go get right back into Figma. We're building out our own variable colors inside our design system. We've been through the beginner step and we're going to go into the intermediate. So if you haven't seen the first video, you'll be able to find it in the link in the description box below. And while you're down there, you'll be able to go check out the Pixellink Design System Lite. It is the project that we've been working along on together. Download the project and then you'll be able to get started. Beyond that, we have a link to the Pixellink Variable Toolkit. It's our new Figma plugin, which we have built for the community. So you can directly apply your Figma variables directly to your designs straight from the toolkit. This makes it faster and easier to be able to view your designs, play with variables, apply variables at ease, and be able to use that across your multiple screens and multiple assets in different modes. So please check it out, get on board, provide feedback. We're really loving to grow this plugin and make it a better plugin for everyone. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. So we're going to open up our local variables and you'll see that I have this collection called Semantic. And what Semantic does is it makes purpose of colors. What are we using it for? Now you can make purpose of colors based specifically on objects. So you can, for example, say like button, and you can make it button. Or in this case, we have these color patterns. These patterns are repeating structures that go across multiple types of actual assets. So it's not object specific, it's more of a pattern or class specific. And this is what this structure is about. If you don't understand, that's okay. What we can do is we can have a little play with these. And this is how we can just start playing around, even learning from other design systems, and actually get an idea about what they do and how they work. Here's a scenario. Maybe I was to go to my Semantic collection. And as I was saying, this is how we can actually start to play. So at the moment, this one here says primary, it's a color, and which is the color fill. And I have a color outline. This is the way that I'm doing the Pixellink design system. You may not use this. You might just use primary, secondary, and tertiary. Completely up to you. And what I got down here is my neutral version of the main. So if we go up to the top here, I have, this is my pattern, this is my primary pattern, and this is the neutral version of it. So maybe in the neutral version, I have a fill and I fill the background, then I add the outline of the neutral version, which applies this. And because I am adding things onto it, that's okay. And you'll notice that, let's say, maybe I'll even remove that. If we grab a text up here, let's turn the text, for example, maybe it's into a title, and I'm just going to call it header. There we go. And I would just kind of place that there for the time being. Now, because I have my fill, it's a neutral fill, what do I do on it? It's quite easy. I got pattern primary on neutral. Primary pattern on neutral, okay, great, fill, done. So this color is being worked out to go on top of this color. Makes sense? And then I could also possibly have, let's say, a subtext to this, or a description. Maybe I call this description text. And in my description text, remove that, hug it, we will turn that maybe to a 14, and then I can actually apply another tier. So maybe I want to have that little secondary tier so that I can have basically this being really bold and this being actually a step down. Now I'm just using colors here, and they're all the different levels of the same color, but you can set up a different pattern that takes in a different color. Maybe you have a different one for secondary. Now we have this thing here. Now, because I have this on, I can also use the same outline. There we go. And now I have the outline on it. And now it starts to feel like it's all synergizing. And maybe that is also the 14, and maybe it's filling the container. And I can also then apply the next to that. So now I have a hierarchy of my colors inside the container. I have the outlines on my container, and I am using them across this asset. And I have a button in the container. Happy days. But maybe I want to have a button that has this style. The good thing is, because I have a non-object specific in this scenario, I can actually apply the fill, add the outline, grab the text, and I can apply the primary fill. And there we go. So now I have this button which matches this style, but they're different assets and they're different objects. So we have a non-specific object one here, where you can still have object specific if you want. That's the difference. As long as your naming conventions fit and you're working with a development team and you're setting up good structures, you can be able to build out what works for you and your team based on the types of actual designs you have. I would recommend tackling some of your big designs to start with, because they will give you a lot more understanding about how your designs are all structured and how they're all working. Remember, a design system and a color system is a living, breathing organism, and you need to be able to work with the overall function of your products and design according to the function of your products for your customers. So here, we've set these up, we've got that going, and that's great. Happy days. And I can go and I can cut this out. I can paste and replace it in. Just check that in now. All right, okay, let's keep moving on. So now we understand how we're setting these assets up. We understand that we can set up different structures and patterns. Ideally, you have some designs you can work from, and you can pick apart the way that you structure the colors, and they look good and they've been approved ideally, so don't start from scratch. And let's actually start mapping some colors to basically a semantic structure. So I'm going to close my toolkit down. I'm going to actually open up my local variables, and I'm just going to create a new pattern. First of all, let's go down here. We're going to go plus, go create our color. And for myself, I add in, I do that fill. You don't need to do this. You could start just by doing primary if you want primary, secondary, tertiary, whatever. So I like to have a specific fill, and I like to have a specific outline for most objects, knowing what I'm working with. And I'm going to then duplicate it. I'll also do that outline. We're going to primarily focus on just this main section right here first, because this is going to be what it is by default. You could call this enabled if you like as well. I have it main. You can call it whatever you like. A good practice would be good, consistent naming conventions, making sure you check with your developer teams and also other designers and work alongside them to set those good, consistent naming conventions up. So first of all, we can go and we can now align them to that main set. So ideally, we've followed along for the last video and we have our color set, and that color set has those variables inside of it. Now I did change this one, but let's say we have a new one. I'm going to duplicate this blue here, and I'm going to call it this alternative. So ideally I have my primary, I got my secondary, and now in this scenario here, we've got an alternative, which is my blue, which has a light set and a dark set that are aligned to my primitives. And I'll drag that right at the top here, and I can see that I called it color, and it has alternative. We'll go back to our semantic. We'll close these down. It's right at the top. There we go. Let's put this one into a new group here, and I believe it would have dropped at the bottom possibly. We're going to grab that group. I'm just going to drag it outside of patterns so we don't get confused. So here is this new group. remember we're calling this one alternative. I'm going to call it, I'm going to call it alt here because I do technically have an alternative. And here, I'm going to able to assign and align the first color. So this is the fill color. For this one, I want to fill it with the full color, the strong color, because I want this strong, like a blue fill button one. So I'm going to create the alignment. I'm going to add that text in. I can go slash, and I can actually type up alt. I know it's right there, but I will just, as you can see, you can actually use this, copy it, and you can access the color faster. As I said, I wanted this to be the fill, like the big solid blue fill. So there we go, big solid blue fill we have. I want it to have an outline, and I want that outline to be, let's say, one notch below it. So let me go down here. I used a 500, and so maybe I'll use a 600, or maybe I use a 700. And this is where we're referencing our existing design, ideally. We have an existing design, we look at the colors, we look at kind of tiers, and we're trying to match them up. So now I have this button. Great, happy days. I can actually, instead of getting too far down the line, let's just test it. I'll open up my kit. And we're going to just basically apply a color to it. Jump into that Semantic term. There we are. Oh, great. I'm going to put the fill and I'm going to put the outline. All right, there we go. Yeah, looks nice. Okay, obviously we need to work on the text inside there. So that's what we're going to do next. But first of all, we do have it saying alt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this into another layer. I'm going to call this color. And I'm calling this color because I'm going to say that this is my fill. And this is what the background is of whatever you put on it. So then the next thing that I'm going to create inside of here would be, let's say, another color. And I'm going to call this one my primary. And I'm going to treat this as my, like, kind of either primary detail, maybe it's my primary text. This is where we can make it specific. So I'm going to put in another group, and I'm actually going to give this a group a name because it's going to have 3 levels of detail. It's going to be a on color group. On color. So we're telling the user, being the designer or the developer, that here we have a color. This color has a fill and an outline. And then we have a group where you will put these colors on top of the color here. So I'm going to have my primary. I'm going to duplicate that. This will be secondary. And I'll duplicate that again, and this will be tertiary. Beautiful. So we're going to have a few different details. Now, maybe we keep it all monotone, and that's how we're going to do it here. That could be it. We might want to try other types of colors. Maybe it's a contrast color or something like that. Who knows? That's up to you how you want to set those up. Make sure you're referencing existing designs before building these out. So build some existing designs. If you don't have them, build them. If you do have them, or you can reference other design kits, do that. So here we are. I have my details, and I want to have, let's say, just a monotone. I'm going to have a light blue. Maybe it's a white. So I can go align. Maybe I start with having this be the actual white. What I will do is I will type in my colors. So that was that color set. And that color set's going to basically control beyond the alternatives. I have my lighter blue right there, and I have applied it there. And I can actually be able to actually apply that to my asset. And we'll go to our Semantic. we'll notice we have this extra collection in here. I can click on this and I can go fill, bam. So there we go. Now we have this button, it's got the color, and it's got the light text, which is this one that we've just applied to it. And maybe we start to align in different colors, and we'll take the different colors from that primary color set that has the dark and light mode inside of it. And by doing that, what we are doing is we're enabling the ability for us to allow for state control, and we're also allowing for us to have the ability to set up the dark and light at the same time. So here, I can control both the light and dark, and I can control for eventually those states that we haven't set up just quite yet. So I'll click here, I'm going to select the whole object, and I can go to color, and I can go dark. And ideally, there we go, it will switch it over. So if you've noticed, I switched it over, but it looks a little funny still. Looks a little funny still. That being, here's this light, like the blue is still like light, but this has went dark, which makes sense because the other ones are reversed. And this is where we can actually start to also look at how we do on color, but we could actually look at how we can do this for both our light set and our dark set. And this gives us a lot more granular control. Maybe you do match it like a one-to-one, you do a pseudo flip here. For example, I can click on my primary here, and what I've done is I've said, okay, in a light mode, I want it to be the 000, the brightest it could be. But maybe in the dark mode, I want it to be actually not. I want it to be slightly different. And by changing that, we can actually have more control over what the dark mode version would look like here. So I can actually set up a variant of this button asset where I'll create the button and close that and create that button, and I can add a variant because I want to have a little bit more control over my dark mode and what my dark mode has. But I also want to utilize the underlining automation that's already set up at the same time. So I could call this dark, and I can say this is the mode, and this can be my light. And in this mode, I can go down to my colors, set this to light, and I know that this switches it to my dark. And by switching it to my dark, I can also change what I'm actually assigning it to. Maybe I'm assigning it that. And instead of this background, you can see this background blue here. And this is where we can actually start to expand what we can do with this color set. So maybe I'm duplicating this color set here. And in this, I can actually add it into my light, and I can add this one into my dark, and what I've just done is now I have this layered dark and light, and then I have my modes, but I also do have this here. Let's go add back in the group that we originally had, because we got our color, which is our on color. We can go and we can add a new group, and I will say this is an on color. Go back to my light. I can see in my light, I will go again, and I will also call this on color. The difference is that it is on color, but it's on the color in the dark mode and on the color in the light mode. So now we have those. And we're still using the same variables from our kit, we just have more nuance and more control, and this is why we layer them. With good naming conventions and a good structure, we'll end up being able to have a lot more control. So in this scenario here, maybe I want this blue button to be actually a bit darker in this state. So I can actually play around if I like and basically pick something that I like. Let's say I go here. Let's say I grab this and I choose that for the line. And that means that in the dark mode here, I can actually change this around and I can actually use the dark mode version. Now I have a lot more control over what my dark mode version looks like, and also I can control how I want the color scheme to work. And I'm still using the same colors, but I'm also still taking advantage of that dark and light mode switching in addition. But how do now we make this work? When I put this in a container, if I wanted to, let's say we go up top here, I'm going to go to my color mode. Let's say I put the white in the background. Now, if I went here and if I simply just click this and I went, okay, now I want to switch this to dark mode, it doesn't change the button. Unfortunately, the button stays the same, which is not what I want. I want it to change to the dark mode because I just changed it to the dark mode. To do that, we can easily set that up by going back to our color collection. And in our color collection, we're going to add a string variable. This string will be our mode. And this one is going to be my light mode. And this one's going to be my dark mode. And this is where when you start putting in your components from your actual asset, which has those variants inside of it, you can go to that here, and we can assign it a variable. We can assign it the mode variable. And now that it has the mode variable, if I actually change the mode to dark, ideally it should switch the asset. Is the asset inside? We'll just double check the naming conventions. Dark, correct. Light, also correct. And, oh yeah, I need to take that off. Auto, there we go. So now that it's set to auto, now it switches to the dark mode because it takes in and this basically switches the variant that it's actually showing. So this is how you can easily set up variants that have nuance control with your colors and enabling yourself to have dark and light mode switching and have the correct color maps that you want. And still leverage as well that dark and light mode switch. Sometimes in some circumstances, you do not need to actually do those additions and personalize those assets. But in this scenario, you can. So now we have the dark and light mode switching, which is fantastic. But we also have basically our different states, and we haven't covered those just yet. We'll be able to quickly run through how they work. So as we duplicated a bunch of these assets inside of our semantic, let's say we go back here, let's go to the light, we'll notice that I have this hover, I have this selected, and I have this disabled. So with this, we can actually start to now assign what types of colors are in these different states. So here I can go align and I can type in and I can go to that color collection down here. I can do slash and I'll type in alt. I'm just going to keep that. So in the scenario that I hover over this, I would like to highlight it. Where it was 500, I'm going to go to 3. From where the line was, I will actually bump the line up as well. So I can set that one, the line, let's say the line goes, if it's 3, maybe it's a 4, or maybe I actually switch it to a 2. And let me actually just set up the same here. where I can also, let's say I do this as the 3, and this is when it's selected. Maybe I don't want the outline in this scenario, so I'm going to maintain the outline. The outline's going to be there, but it'll be the same color. So we're not actually removing the outline, which means as well, like in code, sometimes you also have the line and the line takes up space. So you're not actually changing the size of the button by actually keeping the actual outline. And then in the scenario that it's disabled, it's not going to be a blue, it's going to be a gray. So when we can actually use different colors in this circumstance to control for that. So let's say we use a 300 for the base, and then let's just say that outline is a 4. So now I've easily put together these additional modes that this button can actually quickly select from. So I can go Semantic, I can go Hover, and then I can go to Selected, and I can go to Disabled. And this is now a button that's set up with different states automatically straight from the color collection that we have. And when we apply this, we could apply this to brand new asset. By simply creating an asset, we'll be able to apply this map to the asset. So we'll open up our toolkit. What I can do is I can jump down to the Semantic. And with just a simple couple of colors that I have here, this simple collection, I can now, let's grab that text. I can now just simply click on the button, add the fill, add the outline, click on this, add this primary detail here. And now this asset automatically comes along with both dark and light mode and all of the states that we've set up. So I hope this has helped you set up that semantic layer, understanding how you can basically add in different structures to apply different colors and map them to your objects in a way that enables you to then apply that same pattern to different assets throughout your design system. So you can reuse it again and again using the same colors, using the same structures with the same actual states. In the next part, we're going to take this and now we're going to then move it into how can we enable ourselves with different brands? How can we enable it so that we can cover as well multiple products? Looking forward to that. Please, if you've enjoyed this video, you found it helpful, leave a comment, like, share, really helps out the channel. And in addition, jump in, grab the toolkit, play with it, provide as much feedback, really wanting to build this plugin for the community and really make it the best it can be. So jump in, let us know. So thank you, designers. Until next time, keep building, keep creating, and keep making amazing things. I'll see you all in the next video.